you are constantly on that search because what you've been told your entire life was that later on in life, two halves make a whole, right? So just based off that, they already think they're half when they're actually whole. They just haven't filled that other half of themselves, right? So
Mm.
that other time, they're just constantly searching for that next thing, right? That next thing to help them lift up. Like, why do you think a lot of people, and I'm not saying this to like down anyone, but why do you think a lot of people get in relationships and then when they break up, they're like the most devastated, like, oh my god, I don't know what to do anymore, I don't know what to do with my life, right? Because their entire life was just searching. They weren't trying to understand themselves beforehand. What's up, everybody? This is Ahmed,
And Luffy.
and this is the Brotherly Love podcast. Welcome back, guys. How are y'all feeling?
Yeah, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good,
How are
man.
you, Ahmed?
I'm actually doing really well. I ended the semester. I'm a senior now in college. You know what I'm saying? It feels great to be back in my element of like creativity and I don't know, and productivity too. You
Mm.
know, earlier before we recorded, I was just saying like I could do so many assignments and do these exams or whatever, but I knew I wasn't being productive in terms of my life. But now that school's over, I'm able to just kind of like take over and figure out what kind of goals I want and just learn more.
Oh, it's a different type of productivity, right?
Yeah. There's always different levels. It's not always just school. It can be like your personal life. It can be personal development. It could be your discipline in reading. Whatever it is, there's different levels of productivity. It's not just how much work you're putting in.
Yeah, I mean, I would say different types more so than different levels of productivity, right? Like
Hmm.
there's different things that you focus on in different parts of your life, and they just kind of drive the way that you move through like the day to day as you try to accomplish whatever goals it is for that period of your life. So the type of productivity is, or the productivity itself is defined by the goal that you have at hand, right? Like you're no longer in school, so school related goals are irrelevant.
It's gone. Literally
Yeah,
the
you can reframe your
same.
metrics like.
Yeah, the exact like next day, I wiped down my whiteboard of goals,
Mm.
eliminated everything. So beforehand, it was like music was in one corner. It's like a quadrant thing. So it was like
Mm-hmm.
music, school, personal, spiritual. And then I eliminated the first top half, music, the bottom half, personal and spiritual. And that was it. And ever since then, alhamdulillah, the word alhamdulillah, by the way, it means like blessings from God. Um, I've just been consistent with it and I've been happy. I don't remember the last time I was kind of sad in a way,
Mm.
ever since I was kind of doing that. That's a good introduction in terms of our conversation, though. I know that last time that we actually spoke last week on Thursday. You said that you wanted to touch base on hopeless romantics. What did you specifically mean by hopeless romantics?
uh Hopeless romantic, the idea of being hopelessly romantic. I just thought it was a really interesting phrase that we use a lot nowadays.
What do you think it means?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I think is interesting is like when you dive down into what the idea of being a hopeless romantic, like, are you hopelessly romantic? So like, do you no longer have hope for the idea of romance? You know, it's almost like it's almost like a negative we kind of ascribe to ourselves in a joking way without even really realizing what we're saying. Like, oh, I'm just a hopeless romantic. It's just kind of a fun thing that people say,
They
almost
fling
like a.
around in a way. They fling it around.
Yeah, they people just kind of fling it around and they're not really realizing the gravity of, or the weight of what they're saying. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, especially if you're saying you're hopelessly romantic. Like, well, I don't define myself as hopeless in anything. Like, number one, I'm very hopeful. Actually, I try to maintain as much as I can. Try to maintain some level of like a positive outlook and perspective on things.
Mhm.
So, like, I would never call myself like a hopeless romantic because it almost implies like that I've lost hope or faith in the idea of romance, right? And now we can dive into like, why do people lose even subconsciously, they may not know. Why do the people lose faith or hope in the idea of romance, right?
Wait, so do you think the term hopeless romantic means kind of verbatim what it means? Like they don't have any hope for romance in their life or a love life?
I think that the people who most commonly use the word hopeless romantic are people who are single, who want to be in a relationship,
Yes.
and they haven't been successful.
Okay, that's fine. I wanted to make sure that we're on the same page because the way I saw it was very similar to you, but I guess the way you like just talked about it, I was like, I'm not sure if he means like they don't search for love and they're just like very just hopeless. The way I saw it was that like they're constantly searching for that romantic love and they kind of attach on in a way to whatever is hopeful, right? Because when they're hopeless, it's like they always feel like love is never going to come my way. I'm not that good of a person. Why would anyone want me? And then when someone shows some kind of common decency, they're like, I love you. It's like, whoa, buddy.
I think okay, so hopeless romantic, like I said, I don't think that it's as much a I think it's subconscious more so than conscious, right?
Yeah.
So I think that people use the term and it's like I said, it's almost like a quirky little, oh, I'm a hopelessly romantic, meaning that they're trying to signal that I'm hopeful for romance. I agree with you there. It's not that they're helplessly romantic, like they can't find any, they're at their bare bottom, but more so like hopeless is like an almost like a ascribed like description or something like of like your state of being. So like I don't know, the idea for me of being like hopelessly romantic is like it's just jarringly negative in a sort of way that like I don't know, I just can't understand it. I mean, I do understand it, but I don't understand why people, I mean, I guess because it's subconscious. People subconsciously,
I can understand it.
yeah.
Yeah. I was in a place in a way that was like a hopeless romantic, right? It's like you are constantly on that search because what you've been told your entire life was that later on in life, two halves make a whole, right? So just based off that, they already think they're half when they're actually whole. They just haven't filled that other half of themselves, right? So that other time, they're just constantly searching for that next thing, right? That next thing to help them lift up. Like, why do you think a lot of people, and I'm not saying this to like down anyone, but why do you think a lot of people get in relationships and then when they break up, they're like the most devastated, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do with my life, right? Because their entire life was just searching. They weren't trying to understand themselves beforehand.
Well, I mean, I think that's a little harsh. Like, I do think there's a natural grieving process like that happens when you lose anything.
Oh,
not
yeah.
just talking about relationships, but like when like we talked about before in business, like loss aversion versus the happiness that you feel from gaining something. Like we're so much more wired to avert losses than we do become happy from the gains that we acquire, right? So like I think it's natural, going back, I think it's natural to grieve when you lose, like, or when you lose a relationship, for instance. I do agree also, though, that people who are like, they define themselves as like hopelessly romantic, they tend to be the type of people who, the way you had it in the beginning, I think was perfectly phrased. They tend to be the type of people who enter a relationship thinking that they're 0.5 instead of 1.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to touch upon. I didn't mean it to be like we were saying about earlier. You were saying like how everyone grieves over everything. I completely agree on that. I was trying to specify on people who surround their entire lives on relationships. I think that's a hopeless romantic. So like I see this a lot, and it's funny because sometimes the people who post it don't even see it themselves, what they're surrounding themselves with. So like some people on their Instagram story, right? They'll how like on Instagram like your recommended is just like things you search or things you like, usually pop up. It can be philosophy, it can be girls that you like, what I'm saying? It could be anything. But
the algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm.
The
discover page
feature
will cater to who you are as a person based on your data.
Correct.
So a lot of those people on their Instagram story will have, like, I don't know why people do this. They screenshot tweets and they put it on Instagram, which is weird, right? It's like, that's kind of weird to me. I don't get it, but okay. And they'll post it on their story, and it kind of, in a way, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So like, they'll go in, they'll be like,
What'll the tweet be?
it'll be like, if you ever did me wrong, or if we are not friends, that was on you, because
Damn.
I never did anyone wrong, right? And you just sit there like, nigga, what are you talking about? Like, you've done someone wrong before, right? But in their minds, they believe they're the victim, right? That's just one example. But then it can go into relationships where it's like, oh, I need me a boo, I need me a bae. But there was literally a trend, and there was an Instagram page, and it was like me and somebody's son, or me and somebody's daughter.
What is that?
So pretty much it will be like,
You know, I live under a rock.
yeah, I know. Let me get you hip. Let me get you hip. So it's like the relationship goals type pictures. Like, you'll see somebody like at a beach with like their significant other.
Okay.
And the whole picture will literally be like, well, especially for like black people, it'll be like a black couple, like a very like successful black couple, and it'll be like me and somebody's son, or me and somebody's daughter in that picture. It can be a natural picture, it can be a freaky picture, whatever.
Wait, so this is like, just so I understand, so it's like, for instance, me and my girlfriend post a picture of us together, and then it says like, since I'm posting it, I say me and someone's daughter.
No, you wouldn't post that. There's like a separate Instagram page that has a series of cute/relationship goals type pictures.
Oh,
right?
And that's just the caption.
And either that's the caption, or in the picture, literally the guy will be like, the guy will say me on top, or be the girl saying me, somebody's son or somebody's daughter.
Oh,
it's
okay.
reversible, right? And they'll post that. And then there's those type of pictures. There's the type where it's like, there's no good men, there's no good women. You know, it flips. It doesn't matter who it is, but you'll see it a lot. And then they always complain about it, and nothing is ever done. So going back to the original thing, like, there's a lot of hopeless romantics that you'll see on social media. You just have to like look out for a second and just see their intentions, right? A lot of times, and honestly, I was actually considering doing this. I was gonna unfollow a lot of people, because I was like, you can kind of see their intentions and what they post on their story. Like, in a way, you can kind of understand who they are as a person.
What do you mean, in a way? Directly, you know someone by what they...
I didn't want to go like too harsh on it. I didn't want to go too harsh on it.
You know exactly the type of person that someone is by the content that they put out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter if you don't consider yourself a celebrity, or, you know, someone with influence online, like...
Influencer.
Right? But, like, all social media platforms are just that. They're platforms. What you decide to promote is up to you. Like, if it's all pictures of your ass, you know, we know what you're trying to promote. If it's all pictures of your face, we know what you're trying to promote. If it's all pictures of, and this is for Instagram, you know, but if you're making for videos, it doesn't matter. Like, what you do is just that. The platform is the platform. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you put out is on the platform.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like I said, I didn't want to be too harsh. I wanted to be like, you know, you can somewhat kind of understand, but over time, what I've learned from like being on Instagram and Twitter and learning how to promote myself, you'll start to notice that it is directly related to who you are as a person. Like, the things you want to post about, the things that are in your life, whatever insecurity or truth that you have, you'll end up posting about. So sometimes I'll post about God, or I'll post about me showing love to like my fan base, right? And if you saw from an outside view, it's like, oh, this is a music artist who cares about his family, and he's like learning how to understand his spiritual side, right? And then there can be someone else where it's like, this dude or girl flashes money, they smoke a lot, whatever it is, and you can kind of understand the person they are. And personally, I don't want to involve my life into things that I either A, used to do, or B, I just don't want to surround myself with. Because when you get older, there's actually a line I wrote in a song. I was like, when we grow up, we got our journeys with God. A siddha of escape, but wait, it's feeling odd in the limelight, praying that my time's right. Posted in the studio, focus, make my sound right. So that whole line is pretty much saying like, the more you grow up in your own journey, you have to understand that's a whole alignment with the universe as well, right? So on social media, you kind of have to portray the higher self in a way, the things that you want to promote that's good for people. That's how I see it.
That's difficult.
It is. No, it's very difficult.
No, that's not even what I'm not talking about. Well, yeah, it is very difficult. I think it's difficult from the other side too. You know, taking that to its logical extreme. Like, you don't want to be in a situation where you feel like the persona that you're creating online isn't an accurate representation of yourself, right?
100%.
Regardless of that representation. So it doesn't even matter if the representation of yourself online that you built is holier than, like, I'm a holy, for instance, and righteous. If you have that persona online, like, and you don't carry yourself the same way in like your day-to-day life,
You're exposed.
You'll be exposed,
Yeah.
you know, and you'll live in this constant sense of fear, like, because you're, you know, the fear of being exposed for a fraud, you know, like, I think that's a lot of people's fears, right? Is like, we use all these filters online and take certain pictures from certain angle, and like, you took the picture 17 different times to make sure that your left eye didn't crust this way, and, you know, like, so that we can curate this perfect representation of who we want to be perceived as. And when we find ourselves not aligning with this perceived image that we've created, we have a lot of internal conflict, you know. And that's why, like, even people who post too much like righteousness, you're not good, you're not, you know, no, you're not solidly good. Everyone's a little bit fucked up, you know. 100%. You know, and like, that's why it's really important for me, you know, like, I mean, you know this, like, when I got on social media and like started pushing things out, it was really important for me from the beginning to talk about like a lot of things that I failed at. And the reason it was important for me is because I never wanted my platform to be one where it was just like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I did this, I did that, what are y'all doing, I'm shitting on y'all. Like, you know, I never wanted...
None of y'all niggas are better than me. that type shit.
Yeah, like, I never wanted mine to be like that. So I went from the beginning like, yo, I'm just gonna show myself in like true, authentic, as much authentic fashion as I possibly can. And like, I just have to live with the fact that I'm not gonna get as many likes or this, or, you know, but it depends on, you know, I still see it as successful because my metrics have shifted. You know, like, I remember Instagram came out when I was in high school. You know, like, I remember getting the very first version. I remember when we were discussing, oh, Instagram is going to go on Android now because it started off on iPhone, like on iOS. Like, I remember that time, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I remember back then, like, I would try to curate the perfect picture to post there, and I'd use this filter. I think about my caption, like this and that. And now it's like, now when I post, it's more so about like, do I want to post this, and like, what is the reasoning behind posting this? And most of the time, like, I don't feel the need to explain shit that I'm posting to people, you know, because like, I don't all the time provide all the context, and I'm completely okay with that if everyone doesn't get it, because at the end of the day, I decided that my online presence is for myself, and if other people are gravitated towards that idea, then they'll choose to follow me. But if not, then hey, that's cool. At the end of the day, like, I just want a platform that represents myself, and I think that I can completely stand behind everything that I post. I'm not afraid to post any part of my life anymore because I don't want to hide behind any part of my life.
You hit the nail on the head, bro. Mad hard. There's a lot of topics I want to touch upon, right? So the first thing you were saying, how Instagram is, or not necessarily Instagram, but just social media presence, right? And this isn't like, oh, specific people like you all or da-da-da-da-da, like an old head or whatever the fuck it is, right? No, it's just natural. Like, a lot of times as people, we want to make sure that the best kind of content that we do post is what we want it to portray it as. So maybe it is like a photo or a selfie and stuff. You're like, oh, my eye looks like this, or this filter doesn't look right, or whatever it is, right? That was funny because before, I think it was, especially this year, like, if you saw my Instagram last year, I used to be in everyone's faces, always promoting positivity, da-da-da-da-da, right? But that was a false sense of positivity for the simple fact that I was going through some shit, but yet I wasn't vocal or being honest with myself about it because I was trying to portray the nice guy, look at me, like I'm spreading a message and inclusiveness in the community, yada yada. But I knew wholeheartedly it was fake, and I could tell my audience saw it as fake. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. The way how I am. Like, if I think that someone thinks that way, then that's how it's gonna be. You know. So the
law of attraction.
Yeah, law of attraction in a way. So over time, especially this year, I haven't cared of like the quality or like what the caption is gonna be, or like, you know how some people like they think for hours, like what's the caption gonna be, what's this picture, whatever. No, like, I'll do it. If I feel it, all right, I'm gonna post it. Post, leave. Khalas. Like khalas in Arabic, by the way, it means like we're done, finished, whatever.
This man's dictionary.com.
We have to. So I remember recently I posted a picture, a selfie of me, right? And I just got my hair cut. I was feeling myself. Took some pictures. I took like 3 or 4 pictures, and I was like, all right, cool. I posted 2. I didn't touch my phone for like an hour or 2. I think I was playing video games. I was playing Warzone. I was just chilling, and I look at my phone, 120 notifications. Not from my screen, whatever, but just from Instagram, and it popped up. I was like, what's going on, right? And I look, and it's like the comments are crazy or whatever it is. But mind you, like, this would have never happened if I took a picture. It could be the same picture, but if it wasn't the right angle, the right lighting, whatever it is, no one would have commented. Like, it was a lot of, like, the entire day, I just kept getting, like, either DMs or notifications. I was just like, and I was just thinking to myself, there's one side of me that's like, ha, right? Because, of course, right?
Yeah, slight flex.
Yeah, slight flex, right? There's the other side of me, I'm like, like, this is an interesting kind of take to this, right? You touched on some other point I want to touch on. I forgot what else you said besides that. Talking about Instagram and the filters. And then you talked about, not caring in a way to post. So sometimes if I see a picture or whatever it is I want to post, I'll post it, and then that's it. There is some pictures of mine on Instagram where there's no caption because I simply looked at it. I was like, this is a nice photo. Just post it. You just keep it going. And it's like, it doesn't matter the amount of likes or whatever it is. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I've never was wrapped around metrics, because I was really, really involved with numbers and what this means to me, what value it is to me, whatever it is. But then over time, like you said, when you start to realize like, none of this really matters. It's kind of what I want to promote, I'll promote. What I don't want to promote, I don't want to promote. And you'll know that when you're honest with yourself, that's what it was. When you're honest and trustworthy with yourself and you talk about that online, people gravitated a lot like stronger, not necessarily quicker, right? You can get clout by smoking some weed and a girl twerking, right? But the strength of that wouldn't match if I went on IG Live or whatever and I was just talking about things I've gone through, things whatever it is, right? Because there's a certain vulnerability between humans that makes people connect. That's why I believe, I don't care who you are in terms of my level as a music artist, mine is the strongest because they connect to me on a different level.
No, that's mad deep, bro. Like, it's that concept of like slow and steady and organic growth over like rapid, hyper growth is such a wow. You know, like
it's big wow.
It's big because like it goes. I mean, I think about it. You can think about it one through business perspective, right? Like, when you go to business school, and I've talked about this before, they teach this idea of hyper growth. So like everyone's trying to grow their company as fast as they can, and they don't focus on the fundamentals of the business. And business fundamentals are supposed to be step 1. Is your company profitable? Is this idea profitable? How are you going to turn an economic profit so that we don't need to keep contributing to it as if it's a nonprofit organization? You know, and a lot of companies, like, they don't do that. They're just like, oh no, we'll just grow and we'll figure that out later. And all you're doing is really growing the problem, you know? Same, you know, the organic growth is so much slower. You're not going to hit that same like hockey stick of a growth curve, right? And you're going to be flatter for a lot longer. But like you said, the strength of those relationships, companies that are built on solid customer service, solid customer experience, are profitable year after year. those are like blue chip companies. Those are your Walmarts and your Coca-Colas and your Johnson and Johnson and your Home Depot, you know. And that's such a different world from the way that business is taught nowadays. Now, relating that back to relationships, you know, a lot of people, when they meet someone, wow, they go from 0 to 100. Like,
real quick.
Yeah, real quick. It's like, yo, I just met you and we're gonna go all the way. I'm gonna propose. Like, yeah, before the end of this month.
Just that weird feeling, whatever.
90-day fiance. Like
that weird feeling, or that feeling of like love isn't necessarily love. It's just a spark between two people, but we mistake it for love. But continue.
Yeah, you know, and when you compare that to a relationship that's like starts off as a friendship, which almost everyone kind of wants, right? Like when you say, I want a boyfriend or I want a girlfriend, you want a friend who happens to be a girl. You want a friend who happens to be a boy. And then you guys are romantically interested in each other. That's something that comes out of your friendship. But if you guys haven't even established the friendship, like, what's the long-term viability of your success as a partnership? You know, we talked about this before where you said like, wait, you don't have any female friends, Luffy? And I said, no, because if a woman was my friend, why am I not dating her?
Yeah, I can see that.
If we have enough in common that in interest and in value that you're my friend and you're a woman and I'm a heterosexual male, why am I not dating you?
Or at least messing around with you.
I mean, but you wouldn't want, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I don't know what you want.
I mean, no, not from me personally.
Yeah, I was
just
like,
saying in general.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but yeah, you know, like, why wouldn't you involve the romantic part of it? Because you found the other part, which is so much harder.
No, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think, well, first touching base in terms of hypergrowth, that's crazy that you say that, because not this previous semester that I just finished, but my fall semester, I took a class called direct marketing. And that was the easiest class because it literally talked about the things I was currently doing with my life, with my career as a music artist. And so there is a project we had to do. It's like there's a book, like you have to pick a book and pretty much like summarize it in a paper. So I've got a book called Over Delivery because I was like, this seems very interesting. It talks about business and the fundamental steps, right? And a lot of it, I was like, yo, this is deep, right? So it'd be like, you can deliver a product or a service, but if you over deliver, that's one customer that's going to retain to your business. So let's say, for instance, like even recently, right? Someone was like, I want a wristband. So they sent me the money, right? They don't know that I gave them a wristband and stickers to be like, here you go. Thank you for supporting me. I appreciate that. But in order for you to have those strengthening relationships, you have to build that bond. And that's why a lot of people, especially as like music artists or creators, they want to get to the top real quick. And I understand it because that's just like me. Like sometimes I'm like, bro, I just want to blow up and stop dealing with this, right? But it's so much better when you start seeing the significant growth. Like it's crazy to see my growth from when I was 18, right, dropping music till now. Crazy difference, crazy difference, because I decided to build that relationship and build that bond so that when we get to that point, it's provable. It's like, yeah, he put in work for years before anything blew up. So relating back to relationships, a lot of times, and this isn't speaking from an old head view, but from personal experience, if you want a relationship, you have to build a friendship first. That's why you said like it's boyfriend, girlfriend. Like you build that friendship, and when you build that friendship, you understand that person, you understand their personality, their values. Once you align your values and your ideals, then you can be like, all right, we're gonna date, and then you learn even more about them. And that's how it becomes so strong. Instead of if I randomly met a girl and we're talking for like 2 or 3 hours, and I'm like, oh my God, this girl is so lovely and da 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 da. I want to date her. No, you don't. You just want to smash. You just want to smash. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you know, it's great. I talk a lot actually with some of my friends about the different types of attraction, right? And like the only two types that you need for a successful relationship is, and I'm speaking from I mean, I think it's personally, I think it's no matter how old you are, but it's especially true in our age. You only need physical attraction and an emotional attraction to someone, right? And the issue is that a lot of people they put the physical attraction before the emotional attraction. So they're like, I'm physically attracted to you. Now let me find out if I'm emotionally attracted to you. And they'll go deep with the physical attraction. They'll get into like stage 7 of a relationship with someone before they're like, all right, now let me figure out if we're emotionally compatible. I'm not saying like go down the course deep into like the friend zone. You've been friends with this girl or guy for like 12 years and you've secretly loved them. Like that's wrong way to go about it also.
Yeah.
But there's a healthy balance like between the two where it's like you can kind of feel someone out and develop like a natural casual friendship with them while being like physically attracted. And usually like those types of relationships, wow, like you have like crazy spark and it lasts. It turns into like a great fire, like a huge fire, as opposed to like a quick burning flame from, just meeting someone and the only thing drawing you to them is a physical attraction or the little dull of like a friendship that was supposed to be a relationship that lasts too long.
100%. Why do you think when people smash someone, they end up not talking to them anymore? A lot, or at least see them in a different light because they put the physical attraction first. And when it happened, they realized, oh, this isn't who I want.
Well, yeah, because I got what I wanted. The
Yeah.
thrill of the chase is gone.
Yeah.
In that instance, a lot of times, like after when someone fully exposes themselves to you in that way.
Yeah. And going back to hopeless romantic, I kind of, I'm iffy about it, but I also have like a set mind on what it is. So like, I truly believe that like when you smash someone or whatever, there is like feelings there in a way that can be negative afterwards. So let's say for instance, like I just smashed a chick or whatever, I would think to myself like, damn, like that wasn't the right move. Like, or it could be like you still want that person, but it might not be for the right reasons.
Wait, what do you mean there's negative feeling? Like you have like so after you have sex with the girl, you have negative feelings about the situation or about the girl?
I guess situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but mainly what I was saying is that like it's kind of like people will say, "Oh, I can have sex without catching feelings."
Mm-hmm.
There's that term, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that because, like you said, there has to be some kind of attraction level for you to, what I'm saying, have sex with that person. So even if it's the physical attraction, afterwards, you'll still have something in your mind that like there's something attached to you in a weird way, even if you don't like fuck with them anymore. Like there's something still attached to you. That's how I kind of see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think orgasms are like one of the most powerful forces in the
Very,
world.
very powerful.
The amount of like hormones and emotions that they like allow to, I guess, permeate through the body, like quite literally.
No, yeah.
Like is like it's literally like electrical pulses going through your brain when Pavlovian science, right? Like you had an orgasm with this person, you're attached to this person.
That's what. Okay.
Like
so,
I like let's just break it down into like its basics. Like that's kind of what it is. Like especially, I don't want to say especially because the thrill of the moment is like when it's gone, and then a lot of guys stop talking to girls. I mean, some women do it as well, but. Yeah. Or sorry, some girls, they're not women yet, right? I mean, but those are boys too, right?
Yeah, they're boys. Yeah.
But anyways, like when people do that, like you said, like there are feelings that arise from having sex. Now they could be feelings of regret. Like
100%.
Yeah, like it's not like but that's from like the realization of clarity, right? Like you don't have like that's why an orgasm is so powerful of an emotion because it drains you of all of that force, like sexual energy kind of that was in your body, right? And like that's why men have a refractory period where like there's a period in between you're able to orgasm like multiple times for men. And it could be like a very short period of time, like 30 seconds. I mean, but like there's a certain amount of time, right?
I don't know why, but there is a comment on YouTube. It was like, it was like God made men, but they were so OP, they gave them a cooldown period after they nutted. I just found that funny, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Could you imagine if all guys could keep going like
That'd be
Energizer
crazy.
bunnies?
That would be so crazy.
uh,
But no, yeah. So like what you were saying, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was trying to formulate the words in my head, but this is what I was saying. I was like, people say, "Oh, I can have sex without catching feelings." Whatever. Maybe that could be correct, right? But like you said, an orgasm with two people orgasm during sex, that's a powerful connection that people underestimate because I'm not gonna say, "Oh, hookup culture just started," because people way before were having sex at young ages, whatever it was, even if they weren't like in relationships or dating, it was always like in secret. But regardless, I think now, right, a lot of people think, oh, I can have sex with all these people and still maneuver throughout my life with ease. But that's not true. That's why, let's say, for instance, a guy and a girl have sex, right? They both orgasm, uh, and at least one of them will catch feelings for the other person. They'll either like try to like meet up with them all the time or like try to talk to them all the time when other side might not necessarily feel that exact same way.
you're talking about like casual relationships.
Um, I guess, yeah, but like in casual relationships, it's more so like, oh, we're just hooking up for now in a weird way, right? Um, but I would say like after that orgasmic like moment between those two people, at least one party will be like, I like you way more now.
And is this only an issue in like? That's what I'm saying. Like, are you
Hmm.
talking about casual relationships? Because that's only time when that's an issue, right? Like, why is it an issue if you're in a committed relationship or with someone
Yeah,
and they catch feelings after having sex? Like, I'd hope that they
yeah,
would,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Like,
would hope so. Yeah, so
yeah,
I guess
like
it's only in casual relationships.
yeah, like that becomes an issue, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's ultimately kind of going back to why I don't believe that men should participate like in casual relationships with women.
It's not good for your health.
Yeah, I mean I think it's a cop out for realizing like human behavior. I think that like a lot of men like after a certain point think that they're like gurus, and this is going back to the concept of romance, right? I asked the question almost at the beginning, is like this kind of goes into the question we never really went into it, like what is romance and why do we idealize romance in relationships, but like going to the oh my gosh, I lost it. What were we just talking about?
We were talking about casual relationships, talking
Mhm.
about orgasms and how powerful they are, how it becomes an issue. I said it wasn't healthy for men to do so, and then you said something about men want becoming gurus after or something like
Yeah,
that.
so at a certain point, like a lot of thank you for getting me back on track.
Of course.
At a certain point, a lot of guys, and you see it now, like it's like oh red pill movement, and they all try to go. They call it MGTOW or men going their own way, and it's like supposed to be this realization that they've reached or about they understand female nature, right? And they think that makes them these gurus in human behavior and in understanding how they move. But most of my issue with that movement is that like the principles, you guys 90% of the way there, right? It's just you guys took a hard right at like the wrong turn,
Yeah.
because it's the you guys got the right information. It's the way that you implement it into your own life because you didn't take it past step one. And goes into the idea of romance. Is what usually happens is a lot of people they have these ideas and ideals of romance and love in a relationship, and that's how they define a successful relationship with romance, right? Not necessarily even love, but romance, right? Differentiate the two. Like romance almost goes into the category of lust as opposed to love, right? Now you can be romantically in love with someone, but that's a little different than romance, right? But anyways, someone they believe in the concept of romance, the whole Disney movie, the whole shebang. Their heart gets broken by some douchebag dude or girl when they're in high school or in college or whatever,
And they take it to heart.
they take it to heart, right? And then they try to explore and understand why a lot of people why like this happened to them. I was a good girl, I was a good guy, and so then they find these communities online really, that talk to them about human behavior, right? And either through the lens of like, men are going to play you, so play them first and get your money, sis. Or like,
That's happened so much on Twitter, bro.
yeah. Or it comes out as like, in with men is like, oh, like I said, the MGTOW movement and stuff like that. And what I think both of those movements fail to realize is like everything that you guys believe on a principle level is true. However, you need to partner with someone. Like
Eventually.
human beings were designed to partner with other people for the long term. Life is hard. You don't want to do it alone. Like it's so much easier if you have someone there with you who can take on some of the share of just dealing with the bullshit of day-to-day life. And when you adopt the mentality of I'm going to play all these guys just like they played me, or you adopt the mindset of let me have these women's in a rotation like a Ferris wheel, it's like cool, it'll get you by for now, but how are you going to feel when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60? And the thing is, a lot of people can hold out until they're 40, 50, or 60. But when you get up there in age and you're like a 70-year-old guy, right? And you're in the nursing home by yourself and you're just sitting there thinking about the actions and decisions that you've chosen over your life, over the course of your life. I think in that moment, I would want I hope I wouldn't be in a nursing home, but
Yeah.
I would want my kids and loving wife to be around me as a representation of the life that I had built, rather than having to reminisce on the living representation of the life I had built, rather than having to reminisce on the 600 women that I ran through because I was rich, successful, powerful, and good looking.
Bars. That reminds me of Drake. Who the fuck wants to be 70 and alone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even I think a lot of women realize that before men, right? And I think that's why a lot of men play it off for longer. They'll go into their 50s, their 60s, because, being honest, like a 50-year-old dude who's making money, like you can still be like relatively good looking, successful. You have a lot of like pull in the dating market. You have a lot of, especially sexual market value. Like, you're older, you have a bit of prestige, like, you can find someone for you. But women's game is a little bit different, right? They kind of go younger on everything. So, woman hits 30, woman hits 40, and she's still playing the single game. Like it's they realize it before men do. Like, hey, I want to settle down because this has been fun playing with all these guys, but I'd rather be in a stable, long-term relationship with someone.
Yeah. I think.
Not to say, hold on, I just want to make one
Okay, yeah,
caveat
go ahead,
before
go ahead, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to cut you off. Not to say that like you can't be happy and single. In fact, you should be happy and single. You should find some level of comfort and joy in the life that you naturally live, right? If it's the idea going back to you from the very beginning, 1 + 1, not 0.5 + 0.5.
Yeah.
So like you should be happily single, but human beings are designed for partnerships.
100%. I believe that. It was just. I was just thinking in my head. I was like, yeah. It's like. I was talking to a friend about this, and we're like, yeah, like nowadays, like men are wanting to settle down at younger ages. Or
Really?
now, mind you, this is what he said. This is what I said.
Mm.
He said men want to settle down at younger ages and women don't. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Right? And he was like, bro, all these girls just like want to play around and da 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 da. But because when pretty much his argument was that when we were younger, like in the teenagers age, women wanted to settle down with the boys. Like the girls wanted to settle down with the boys, but the boys wanted to hoe around and they wanted to do other stuff.
Mm.
But then now it's in reverse. The girls like, oh, I want to hoe around, and then the dudes are like, I want to settle down. I don't necessarily believe that, but I do believe both men and women after college, they're kind of like, all right, now that that whole facade of college is over, right? I want to find a partner that I want to settle down with. That's why a lot of people get married at like 24, 25, and then continue going up because they realize like, yo, this isn't gonna last. This isn't very strong to constantly hook up with these people. Now, am I saying hooking up is wrong? No. Like, do what you want. That's your life. You know what I'm saying? Live how you want to. But you also have to understand every action you have has consequences. So if you choose the single life and you choose to hook up with these people, eventually you'll end up seeing in a way like, dang, I took all these women for granted, and or I took all these men for granted, and now I can't settle down with anyone. Or and then I mean then there's also the consequences of settling down too early. It could be like, maybe this isn't my right partner. There's this other person that I really like, and yada yada yada. It's give and take. You have to kind of choose which battle you want to go to.
I think the second one's more a fear than it is a consequence, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because if
100%.
you find yourself in a relationship that you don't like or approve of, you can leave at any time.
Yeah,
You know, the the decision not to have done something is worse than the decision to have done something. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think it starts, like I said, with the idea of romance, and like why people are, they subscribe or, to this idea of romance, and romance should be the driving factor in relationships. And like that's why physical attraction like becomes usually like the driving force in a lot of like relationships nowadays. Like when you see people going from here to here, it's because you caught my eye, number one. And it's like, in my mind, of course, right? Like like I told you before, physical attraction for me is binary. And so it's either yes or no. And then beyond that, like I have a list of other questions. So there's not like a huge emphasis on it, because the way that I'm looking at things now is like, if we're 60, right? I'm gonna be looking at you like, you're 60 also, or you're, however old you are. Like physical attraction at that point is almost irrelevant,
yeah,
if not completely irrelevant. And it's not to say that people can't see physical like a beauty and attraction, but it's such a small part of life if you're looking to build like a long lasting legacy, that it's irrelevant, right? You only kind of need the physical attraction for like 30 minutes y'all going in to make the kids, right?
1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah. So in that instance, physical attraction matters, but like other than that, it's not too much, but to like fill your own ego a lot of times. Because like even some of like the most beautiful girls like that I've been in relationships with, like they're drop dead gorgeous, like these girls could have modeled. But when you're in a relationship with someone, like and not just when you're in a relationship, anytime that like you spend a considerable amount of time with someone, like talking to them, trying to get to know them, whatever, the physical attraction factor, that spark or buzz or that element of it fades away real quick.
Oh yeah,
Like that becomes like so irrelevant. Like
it's like the puppy dog / like puppy love type of phase, right? That's why a lot of times some relationships don't last, because like you said, they kind of go off the physical basis, and then they realize, oh, that's not what I want. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, like your physical attraction isn't the thrill anymore, right? In relationships, after a while, you start to realize, yeah, I'm still physically attracted to you, of course. I think in relationships especially, like there's always gonna be physical attraction. Is it the main thing? Is sex the main thing? Hell no. That's why there's a lot of couples, like, or married couples, they won't have sex for a while because they realize that's not the main thing and the reason why I'm with you.
Really, you think that's the reason why they're not having sex?
Oh no, there's probably other like reasons. Of course, there's probably other reasons.
I think it's probably because they don't like each other. Like,
yeah, might because there's those there's a lot of factors.
I'd be more inclined to believe that there are more couples that don't like each other than there are couples that are like, because I love you so much, I choose not to see my physical attraction to you and not have sex with you.
That's not what I mean, right? I'm saying like they still have sex, but not as frequent. Right? Yeah, like they still like each other, they still love each other, but over time you'll start to realize sex isn't the main thing in relationships.
Correct.
Right? It's definitely an essential factor. That's how you express your love and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's one of the ways, not
it's one of the ways you express love, but it's not the main thing. Because over time you start to realize this is way further than that. It's way more than that. And you start to get to know them and understand who they are as a person, and you can love who they are and understand what you can do to love them better than just the physical.
Well, I think it's based off of what the relationship is built off, right? So what
Yeah.
values are the relationship built off? If the
Hmm.
relationship is built off of physical attraction, then that's the end all be all of the relationship. If the relationship is built on this idea that we're going to build a long-term partnership, then you hold that above everything else. And when small issues come up like, hey, she has an issue and she can't have sex for the next year, or you have an issue and you can't have sex for the next year, then you guys can work through it together. God forbid, God
That'd be
forbid,
terrible, bro. That'd be
God
terrible.
forbid. But if something like that ever happened, like you have to decide that ideal, that value that you had of building like a long-term successful relationship with someone, building a family with kids that you love is more important than me having sex with my wife right now.
Yeah.
And that's expressed a lot if you think about like how can people in relationships survive distance apart.
Yeah. I've been in a few long distance relationships. I'm in one currently.
Hmm.
And at first you're like, damn, this is kind of hard because this person's all the way at a different like state, or they could be like a few hours away, whatever it is, right? But I think in maturity of a relationship, long distance will teach you how to love someone, how to understand someone way before the physical. So that way, when you guys do meet, you can celebrate the physical and you can celebrate everything you've done. But it definitely teaches you how to deal with the distance and the separation.
How,
Although it sucks, it teaches you a lot.
how do you feel about the saying that a long distance relationship can work if all four people are okay with it?
Wow, that's crazy. I don't necessarily believe that.
Hmm.
I do think it happens 100%. Let's not ignore the fact and act like everyone's holy. You know what I'm saying? Some people are like, damn, I haven't seen my significant other in a few months. Let me just smash this person real quick on the side or whatever, right? I get that. But it's long distance relationships can work if both parties are willing to make it work, right? The reason why some long distance relationships don't work is because they don't communicate certain frustrations they have or feelings of whatever it is, right? And they hold it in. And that's the main reason why people would cheat, or they'll go and have a side piece or whatever, because they realize I don't want to speak about this to my significant other. I have these desires and these feelings. I'm gonna just do what I want to do.
Mm.
And that's the reason why it mainly fails. But if you're, like I said, if you're actually committed and you're willing to be like, hey, let's learn how we can do this. This is definitely a roller coaster for both of us. But if we take it step by step, we can be successful.
Mm. I don't think long distance relationships can work unless there's an end goal. As in, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
unless you guys both have it planned, like, hey, this is for a certain amount of time, and then we're gonna come back together. I don't know the word for that. Like regroup or
Reunite or
reconverge
I
on
don't
like
know.
a single location.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like if I was married to my wife, I mean, of course, or she wouldn't be my wife, right? But if I was married, if I was married and my wife, for instance, she was doing some project and she had to go to Nairobi for 6 months. It's like, all right, cool, because I know she's only going for 6 months. After that 6 months, we're gonna reconverge, right? I think what happens when people are young is it'll be the first time that, like, oh, someone's gonna go to college and then the other person's going to a different college, or like someone gets a job somewhere and someone else is in the same city, and they don't ever make a plan for like coming together, like of ending back up in the same physical location. And I think that makes it so that the relationship and the couples don't have anything to look forward to. You're just,
Yeah.
you constantly exist with this like slight, it's almost like a dull pain in your back. It's like, it may not be bad enough that, because you still love the person, maybe that you're not gonna endure it, but after a certain amount of time you're like, bruh, like,
Yeah.
I need to go to the chiropractor. I need to get my fix. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, let me get a massage, foam roll out this
100%.
little spot. Like,
100%.
you know,
I
or
think
like,
it goes back to like just intentions of what you want that relationship to be, right? Like if you are planning to marry that girl, right, the one that you're dating for like long distance, there might be a couple of years where you won't be in the same location.
damn, a couple of years.
Boy, I'm 21. I'm not trying to get married that early, you know what I'm saying? But like you would have to kind of set in both your minds like this is the time, or this kind of year we will be able to reconnect physically, right? So let's say, for instance, before you got married, you're dating this girl, and for 2 years, it's long distance. What do? You personally, don't speak for everybody else, but you personally.
Is the whole 2 years of our relationship long distance? I mean, like I could never imagine myself entering a scenario like that. Like for me, I'd have to, like I said, the physical distance has to come into our relationship. It can't be the start or the basis of our relationship because it has to just be a small road bump in it. Like I want us in the same physical place. Like I'm a touchy feely guy. You know?
Same.
Yeah. Like I love spending quality time with people and I love touching people. I knew that was gonna come out a little weird.
Suspect.
But because of those two factors, like I can't imagine a scenario, for instance, that I see on like 90 Day Fiance, throwing that back out there where it's like I meet someone online and then like our relationship is based off of online and then I meet you. Nah, it can't work that way for me. For me, it'd have to be like we're in a relationship in person and then you go somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Or like I go somewhere and like, all right, that's cool. And then we have an end goal. All right, I can work through something like that, but I can't do it starts as an online relationship
And then it gets into.
and then I can't do it. It ends as an online relationship, meaning we don't have any plans to reconverge.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
reconvene.
100%. I believe that. Yeah, like my current partner right now, like we were like somewhat talking, but we both I said boof. We both knew that like we won't date unless we meet each other, feel it out, and then afterwards, okay, we can date and we can understand and go through it. Right? That's the reason why I think now it's better that way. But if I just had a relationship that was strictly online, only got to meet her like once, I wouldn't want to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is just not, there's, like you said, there's no end goal. What are we doing? It's wasting both of our times. So when people cheat in online relationships, it's not, I'm not condoning in it.
Long distance, not online.
Yeah.
I keep saying online because they're talking to each other online. Like
long distance, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning in cheating in long distance relationships, but I can understand why it would happen based off of just the biological factors of human needs. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people are visual. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I might love you so much, but that ass, like, but I do think like if you have a larger purpose in life, like I said, like depending on what the values of the relationship are built off of, like if you're a God-fearing person, like if you believe in something bigger than yourself, including that the relationship could potentially be bigger than both of you, then you'll fight for it and you'll do what's like necessary to sustain it, like given that it's benefiting both parties, which like if it's built off of the right ideals, then it will, and that ass won't do anything besides be a 15-second blimp in your day.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think love can happen for people, but unless they're willing to fight for it, because it's like you have to both be on the same page of what the end goal in mind is, right? So to kind of wrap up everything, it's like hopeless romantics. In order for you to find that committed person, you have to be committed to yourself as well in order for that end goal to happen.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do you have any like last second thoughts or anything like that?
I think hopeless romantic is a dangerous word to ascribe to yourself. I think you should look at yourself as a hopeful romantic. If you've been hurt before in a relationship, don't lose the idea of romance. Don't lose that idea. Be hopeful romantic.
I like that. And this has been Ahmed.
And Luffy.
And this is the Brotherly Love Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening and staying tuned. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.